Distinguished senators, my name is Joash Amupiton. I am a professor of law with specialization in law of evidence and corporate governance. I therefore stand before you today honored to be considered for the position of the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission. I want to start with my early life. I was born on the 25th day of April, 1967, in a town that is known and called Ayetorogbede, in the Jumu local government area of Kogi State. So, late Chief Joseph Benson Amupiton and late Mrs. Alice Amupiton. My formative years were nurtured in the environment, a nurturing environment of my early primary school at Baptist Primary School in Ayetorogbede between 1971 and 1976. Just to say, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, that my parents were teachers. My mother grew up to be the headmistress, the famous headmistress in our place, and my father metamorphosized to become the president of Upper Area Courts. So, following my primary education, to also mention that as at that time, you were allowed to write common entrance. I wrote my common entrance and was admitted for my secondary education because I passed at St. Barnabas Secondary School in Kogi State. Now, higher education. My pursuit of legal knowledge took me to the Kwara State College of Technology, which is now known as Kwara State Polytechnic, for my HSC, that is School of Basic Studies. At that time, you go for your HSC and you obtain an A-level qualifications. IGMB A-levels and GCE A-levels. That was between 1982 to 1984. Upon my graduation from the secondary school, I proceeded to the University of Jos, where I obtained the LLB Honors degree in 1987, consequent upon which I emerged as the best graduating student at that time. And I am happy to report, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, that I won all the awards available at that time. Before I proceeded to the Nigerian Law School in Lagos in 1987-88, where I was called to the Nigerian bar on the 3rd day of November 1988. After obtaining my LLB, my BL degree, I went on national assignment, which was consequent upon the laws of the National Assembly. Upon graduation, you proceed on national service for the purpose of integration. I was posted to Bauchi State, where I served in Bauchi State Publishing and Printing Corporation, publishers of the Trumpeter. I served as judicial to police correspondent as at that time. Before I could conclude my NYC, Excellencies, distinguished senators, I was offered automatic appointment as a lecturer in the Faculty of Law, University of Jos. Principally because I was the best graduating student, and again, had a professor who was actually a great mentor that ensured, even before the NYSC, I was recommended to be appointed. And I could remember vividly in his recommendation, he noted, Vice Chancellor, if you don't capture him now, when he's very young, by the time he goes into practice, we're going to lose him. So, consequent upon that, an appointment was waiting for me, even before I concluded my NYSC. Over the years, I progressed with my academic career. I also enrolled for the Masters of Law in the same university, and also PhD, completing the programs in 1993 and 2008 respectively. The question may be, why Jos? With utmost respect, Your Excellency, Jos is considered as a university that offers a temperate weather, even in Nigeria. So we had that temperate experience, that instead of going out to study, just remain in Jos and feel you are in the UK. So I grew up, I enrolled as an assistant lecturer, but to the glory of God, because in my ascendancy, three things have always influenced my life. Number one, God. Number two, hard work. And number three, mentorship. So I became a professor in the year 2008. And I'm happy to report, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, that I was the first professor of law from Kogi State. Not just the first professor of law from Kogi State, I was also the first professor SAN in Kogi State, despite the harvest of senior advocates of Nigeria in Kogi State. I may also wish to bring to your attention that in the year 2003, the United States government also considered me, appointed me as a visiting scholar, although they call it visiting professor, to the University of Iowa in the United States, where I spent 9 months researching on cutting-edge issues related to comparative law between America and Nigeria. I served in the University of Jos, became a head of the Department of Public Law, and also became the Dean of the Faculty of Law. And I happen to be one of the longest serving deans because I served for 6 years, while ordinarily you are supposed to serve for 4. But because of the compelling need, I was prevailed upon to take the university and the faculty to another level. Because during my tenure as the Dean of the Faculty of Law, for the first time, the Faculty of Law became the third best, University of Jos, became the third best university or faculty in Nigeria, based on NIAL's ranking as at that time. In addition to that, I was able to also work on proposals that led to a grant of $150,000 from the Carnegie Corporation of the US. And that was one of the major breakthroughs we had with Carnegie Corporation, leading to the establishment of an ICT, online legal research for lawyers, in the Faculty of Law, University of Jos. And that was the very first, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of West Africa. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, I was appointed as a senior advocate of Nigeria in the year 2014, and also appointed as Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration in October 2022. The position I held up to this moment, if Your Excellency, distinguished senators, find me worthy commission. I've noticed that my Vice Chancellor is also here, sir, who was telling me this morning that just wondering how he's going to cope. But this is a higher responsibility. I also was appointed as the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council of Joseph Ayo Babalola University. The mission was to grow the university to become an Ivy institution that will be one of the best in Nigeria. That goal is being achieved. Your Excellency, professional experience, my legal career has been marked by substantial contribution to various facets of law. And I'm a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, International Bar Association, National Association of Law Teachers, and several others. I can see with respect that my CV speaks to some of these points. But importantly, sir, I also want to report that I have also been part of the Parliament of Nigeria, the National Assembly. And I have participated severally in some of the very, very important institutional building policies, seminars organized by the National Assembly, some of which, number one, I was a consultant to the 8th House of Representatives, and I was among those that tinkered and brought experts from all over the world to come and debate the very vociferous petroleum industry bill that had become a cankerworm that no successive parliament could deal with until we bifurcated and make the necessary recommendations. I was also privileged, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, to present the keynote address of the 8th House of Representatives during their second-year anniversary on the topic that is titled The Appraisal of Legislative Agenda of the 8th House of Representatives. And just to also say, with due respect, that there used to be an initiative of the National Assembly. They called them the initiatives. They had a dean. I had also presented a paper sometime in 2008 on politics and governance, the challenge of electoral reform. I was a member of the 8th House of Representatives Committee on Law Reform, where I worked on, in collaboration with some experts put together by the National Assembly, to review and to reform over 500 legislations that then members picked up and sponsored as individual bills that eventually led to the amendment of some of those laws. I have also assisted in the harmonization of the 2018 Electoral Act under the auspices of NILS, now NIADS, where we try to harmonize the position of Senate as well as the House of Representatives. And after the harmonization, the bill was vetoed by the former president because it was considered to be very close to the election as at that time. Your Excellency, for now, that is the brief about who am I. We have further details in my CV. I've been board members, governing council members, but I don't want to bore you with all those details. I'm very grateful for this honor, sir.
The floor is open. Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I and my distinguished colleagues. First of all, let me congratulate the nominee for being so nominated by Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, I spent the whole of yesterday reading through this resume. And what I discovered is that the nominee has a wonderful pedigree, wonderful pedigree, wonderful track record as contained in this document to occupy this office. And I went on to follow up with trying to substantiate, make sure that what I read, all what is contained here are true. And I asked questions, talked to some of the lecturers in the university. This is my friend. And everything was confirmed to be true. So he has the necessary track record and pedigree to my judgment. But I want to ask a question. INEC has, or everybody think of that, and it's true, that the ability of INEC to conduct credible elections, the ability, independence of INEC is sine qua non to achieving that. Independence for INEC is sine qua non to making sure that it has the ability to conduct free and fair elections. Now, going by your wonderful pedigree, showing that you're a man of integrity, someone who has the capability to occupy this office, how will you bring this to bear in making sure that your operations, your operational decisions, your policy decisions are not influenced by external forces? Please, just give me step-by-step description on how you can achieve this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Every question must be concise. Only the Deputy Senate President has the latitude to ask extended questions. So, Prof, you have a paper. You have to note so that you can take as many questions as possible before you answer. But because of the person of the Deputy Senate President, please proceed and answer.
I'm very grateful, Mr. Senate President, sir, for this question from the DSP, sir. INEC, under the Constitution, Section 155, is an independent body. And it is one of the commissions that is on first line charge. But one of the problems we've had with independence on its own and autonomy has to do with the practicality in terms of finances. I have not taken over to know the nitty-gritties, but I want to say from past experience, although it has been legislated that funds should be released at least a year before the election, but you find out that this does not come in time, and then the envelope system still makes the institution to be constrained financially. And then there's sometimes what we call ignorance of authority and power. The Constitution has granted you autonomy, but it's possible you are even ignorant of the autonomy. So we will look at the spirit and the letters of the Constitution, as well as the laws made by the National Assembly, to use our knowledge to ensure that INEC is independent. And we'll have an audit to see what are those factors, and we shall deal with them accordingly. I can give that assurance, Excellency.